Welcome to the Starlight podcast. Here we discuss the effects of modern culture on our mental, physical, psychological, and spiritual lives through a traditional Kemetic perspective. We hope to provide insight into what we have learned our ancestors did traditionally to live harmoniously with nature. Let the starlight illuminate your mind and shine on the path to help grow the seeds of change. Come join us in the light. Ujahi, welcome. It is I, your host, Neferista, and to my right...
Yo, Shemzheru and
And welcome to all of our listeners. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's been a while since you've heard from us. It's been a minute, right, Shemzheru?
It's been a hot little sec.
But we're back, y'all.
Hey.
We're back, y'all. And this is episode 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Of the Starlight podcast. We made it to 5.
Shout out to us, right?
Right? So we want to get started. We want to open the podcast by giving honor to our Dogon High Priest, Master Healer, and the founder of the Kebtah, the Makru, the truth teller, Neb Nabala Mustamura Denebig. For without him, none of us would be here today sharing this information with you. I want to also acknowledge the seen and unseen forces that are here with us, as well as giving honor and thanks to all of our ancestors of Shemzheru and I, of our producer, Big Geb, and to the ancestors of all of our listeners. For without them, we would not be here today. So, need to do out to all those forces, all those energies, all of our ancestors. So, getting right into it, y'all. Each week, our podcast will feature Chem Talks. For those of you who have been with us from the beginning, the Chem Talks has taken the place of Hot Topics. And Chem Talks is a view of the world through a Kemetic lens. And then it'll be followed by our main discussion, which is the initiatives of Kebtah. We are on part 4 of the initiative. Then we'll have Pick a Card, the Commandment of the Week, followed by the Griot's Corner, where we will feature different artists, and we will wrap up with a portion of the Bayuwali reading, or what the Greeks called the horoscope. So, Shemzheru.
Yes, ma'am.
What is our Chem Talk for this week?
Yeah, so our Chem Talk is about water. So it's not just about water. You know, like, although you say water, people, bottled water, we talking about Dasani? No, we not talking about Dasani. Let that go.
No Dasani, Shemzheru?
No Dasani.
Okay.
No Deer Park.
Oh.
No any of that.
Okay.
So I found this interesting article in class pertaining to water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned a while ago about the amount of consumption of water in the United States, which is dangerously high. And how high, right?
Right.
That's what you asked, right?
How high?
Well, this article from the New York Times, the author Samani Sengupta. I like that name.
Yeah.
Says the water crisis threatens the world's ability to eat.
Whoa.
Right. Where food production is in areas that are facing detrimental water shortages. The article also says that water is often taken for granted as an abundant gift from nature, when in fact it is a scarce resource and costly to provide to users. And I know growing up for me, my perception of it, it was always in abundance. We never really think that the water that you have in your faucets or in your kitchen or, you know, in the toilet, even though you're flushing the toilet like 16 times a day, I don't know how many times you was going as a kid, but, you know, you just using that bathroom up.
Right.
That is a finite resource.
Right.
And it is, you know, like with the amount of water that we use for, you know, everyday household things. But then, like, you got to look at the amount of water that's being used to make the foods that we have, right? So the article is an interesting article because it was talking about the fact of, well, in certain places where the food is grown, it's a shortage of water and it's a scarcity. And the water that they're using is actually, they're tapping into the groundwater sources.
Oh, wow.
But even the groundwater sources are becoming depleted.
Absolutely.
And I know some people's like, well, we got the oceans, right? But it takes a lot of energy for one to pump the ocean.
Right.
You're not pumping that much water. But then after you get the water from the oceans, you have to purify. You have to it's too much salt.
Yeah,
if you find yourself drinking that, you're gonna be like a snail. You're gonna die. You're gonna burn out. So that article was mainly talking about like the water scarcity problem, and then I read this other article that was talking about the dietary system of Americans and how the diet, because we eat a lot of chicken and dairy, that it takes a lot of water to feed the cattle, feed the poultry in order to sustain the diet concepts that we have. Even it's interesting, I'm a substitute teacher, right? So the diet system starts there. I remember eating pizza and drinking milk all the time. Now you got that ingrained inside of your mind. So now you think pizza and chicken is the concept, is the thing that you want to go for and you want to use. But the amount of water that it takes we're not going to be able to sustain that consistent deprivation of the water over time.
It sounds like it's just more of us living out of harmony with nature.
Essentially.
Because clearly from a nature standpoint, like the animals, they are not creating a water crisis.
No, they're not.
So it goes back to us being one of the most harmful species, and how we're doing things. And the further and further away we get from just traditional ways of doing things, where things are done in a way that's easy, the more detrimental we're to the earth, the more detrimental we are to the water.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that this article is saying that because of the things that we're doing and we're not paying attention to it, we are making it so that water is even more scarce.
Yeah, essentially. And like I looked at this consensus statistic today earlier in the morning when I was getting ready for work, and I said, hey Siri, how many people exist on the world?
Oh, wow.
From the consensus report, it's 8 billion people, right? So if you have 8 billion people, and let's say, let's just guess that America has, like roughly 2 billion people of the 8 billion. Now you have 2 billion people that are potentially, I'm just throwing around rough estimate numbers because we have homelessness, we have people without, certain situations running water, and we have all of these different things, right? But if we have over 2 billion people that are utilizing the water, let's say that are flushing the toilet 16 times, that are washing their hands possibly, because people be dirty nowadays, that are eating different foods. They have that push for Chick-fil-A, right?
Right.
Eat the chicken and not the cow.
Right.
But the amount of water that it takes to sustain those types of diets or those types of foods or those types of activities, we're just continuously beating down a dead horse. And eventually, you beat down a dead horse long enough, all you're going to have is blood. Right. And eventually that blood will dry. So we're pretty much essentially drying the world's water supplies. But from an initiatic standpoint, we know that the earth itself has a mechanism to be able to sustain itself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we represent, some people say that we represent parasites.
Right.
Well, if the earth is an intelligent entity and it has a parasite, what do you think it's going to do?
Right.
Yeah. So we have to really consider those things. And, these two articles, or some of the articles that I read on water, and more in this conversation that we're going to get to later in this conversation of the podcast, we got to change our ways.
Absolutely.
We essentially have to change our ways.
Shemzheru, this is such a huge topic.
Yeah, it is.
And such an important one. This is a perfect segue into today's topic.
Yeah, it is.
Today's topic is continuing with the Indigenous Renaissance Initiatives of the Kebtah, otherwise known as the I.R.I. And the initiative that we're going to discuss today is the Water Initiative. So water is a basic necessity. We all know that. It's a necessity of life. And in remote places in Africa, communities depend on wells for cooking, bathing, washing their clothes, and drinking. Our water projects aim to increase the accessibility of water sources to the villages in landlocked areas. So in doing so, we aim to assist in conserving the community's energies and facilitate revitalizing their village life. So in 2021, Shemzheru and I got to go on pilgrimage with the Kebtah. And we visited the I.R.I temple in Sokode, Togo. And one of the things I remember doing was going to the well to get water for us in the morning. And it was the most delicious water I've ever tasted. I mean, it smelled good. It was crisp. It was cool. It was wonderful. And when I came back to the U.S., one of the things I noticed is how chemical smelling the tap water was. You know, and it didn't taste good at all. And, you know, I also recall when I was in my apartment and we got this notice in my apartment telling us the water would be off because they had to work on the pipes. And I was like, okay, you know it's there, you know it's happening. And like it's supposed to be go off the whole day. And I kid you not, Shemzheru, I cannot remember how many times I would walk over to the water and turn the water on to like get something to drink.
Same thing.
Or wash my hands and be like, that's right, the water is off. It made me realize that I had absolutely no control over where I got my water. It made me stop and think for a moment, hey, where's my nearest water source? Like if I had to go find water for myself, where is it? And I didn't know. Like it wasn't close. It wasn't walking distance. And it brought me all the way back to being in the bush at the I.R.I temple, walking to get water from the well. Because, you know, most of us would say, okay, well, you know, that's primitive. That's third world that you had to go pump water from the well. But in the journey just to walk to the well, in nature, it made me respect nature more. Like I wasn't going to litter along the way to go get my water because I was going to get the water. The act of being able to carry, because when I first got there, Shemzheru, remember how, look, that one pail of water, half of it got spilled.
Yeah, I remember.
I was so weak. I could not even carry one bucket of water the whole way without either putting it down or wasting most of it. By the time I left, man, I was able to carry 2 buckets of water without stopping, without spilling any of the water. But the bigger thing is when you have to go get the water yourself. You don't want to waste the water.
No. And then when you have to get the water yourself, you're only going to use how much that you can carry.
That part.
That's the big thing. Because if we're disconnected from nature, we're also disconnected on how to obtain these things. I can go into my bathroom or my sink in my kitchen and leave the water running, right?
Think nothing of it.
And because I'm so disconnected at the source where we're taking it from, right? We won't even consider that, yes, it is a finite resource.
Right.
You know, every indigenous culture that came before this destructive modern system that we find ourselves in knew that. Right. And if they knew that, okay, well, even these resources that nature provides for nature itself, we just happen to be in here in nature and enjoying the abundance. It doesn't mean that we can take it in surplus without considering its reproductibility.
Right. You know, I'm not sure if that's a word, but I get what you're saying. It makes sense.
Day, bro.
Listen, you know what's funny? When I was a little girl, and the milk carton, the milk carton versus the jug of milk where you can't see how much milk is in it. For me, it seemed that it was magical. I thought, like, I would always be surprised when the milk was almost gone. Like it was, I know, it doesn't make any sense, but it would be like, right, why is the milk gone?
The milk is almost gone.
It's like, without me being able to see it go, I felt like it should have always stayed full.
Right.
And what I realized is we kind of live in that same concept because we don't see it go in a way. We always think it's going to be full.
It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there.
That's just not the way anything works.
At all. Nothing functions like that, you know? Everything has a point where you can use it up. You imagine the ketchup. If I go upstairs and continuously use the ketchup, you know, at first when it's in its abundance form, I'm not going to think nothing of it. I'm not going to think I need to get another ketchup.
Nope.
But then when it started to get a little at the bottom, you like, hey.
Listen, you start holding on to ketchup.
You start doing things a little bit different.
You start doing things a little bit different.
And the thing about it is, right, because we live in an illusionary system, that point doesn't come
until it's too late.
In any other system, even if they lived in a system where we can turn on the faucet, right, it would still have to be some type of mechanism that lets people know that, listen, you can't have too much.
You can't have too much.
So after a certain time, the water should be cut off, or after a certain point, the water should be cut off. No. Money talks in America, right?
That's right.
Because we got a water bill, right? Oh, I'm going to pay my water bill. What happens when you don't and that water cut off? Then what? And the thing, what a lot of people don't know how to do is to go find their nearest river, or to go find their nearest stream. And then, you know, this is taking us into something, but
go.
Even if we do find those streams and those rivers, those creeks, those ponds, not really ponds, but, you know, those bodies of water that we can get water from, is dirty. And then we're so disconnected.
And why is it dirty?
That's another. That's part two of that. But because it being chemically dirty, not you know, like there's a difference between nature having bacteria that's growing life inside of it.
Yes.
That's different. That's different because if you can see that there's life inside of it,
that means there's life inside.
That means that maybe you should drink it.
Exactly.
Right? But if your water doesn't or can't support that, and it has a toxic odor, you can see like the oily surface on top. No, don't drink that. Don't drink that. But because we've been so disconnected and scared, right? We don't know what's good water, how to obtain good water. Most the average person don't. You know, some people that's going to listen to the podcast and, you know, they're survivalists, they know how to get the water, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of people, if you put them in adverse situations, they're not going to be able to find it. And that's a problem.
Does that make us slaves?
Look, slaves, that's a whole different conversation. We trying to focus on water. We're trying to focus on water. But yes, that makes us slaves because essentially you're dependent upon the system doing the thing that you don't know how to do for you. So if anytime you allow something to do something else for you because you don't know how to do it, then you have to consider yourself, because it's only honest. It's only honest. And the technique, it's a beautiful technique. You know, I'm not trying to get into my rant, et cetera, but it's a beautiful technique of making somebody dependent on you. Right. If I cut you off from the source, and teach you that even if you do utilize the source, the water is dirty. Yes. And then teach you that nature itself is dirty, so therefore you're not going to use that. You're going to use this bottled water, right? You're going to use Dasani, Deer Park,
the tap water that's coming through pipes, all those other waters.
And then it becomes a quote unquote conspiracy. So I just want a small segue into this real quick. The Earth Center has an article about the bottled water conspiracies. Now, what Firefly, we can mention it to you all next week or next week's podcast or next episode of our podcast. But we do have an article. It's a very, very interesting Firefly because it talks about that dichotomy between your concept or perception of what you think that bottled water represents as opposed to what it is. You know, and that's a really big thing because if I'm taking you away from something, I'm going to make you become dependent upon something. Look at COVID-19. Look at COVID-19 as a big example that we can use. COVID-19, a lot of people took toilet paper for sure. I don't know why y'all did that shit, but that shit was weird. Anyway, they took toilet paper, but they also took the water. They also took the water. And if now they say that the water is no longer on the shelves, we can't supply the demand of water. We are not going to be connected to where we can get the water from. And that presents a problem. And, you know, essentially, you know, the article itself is taking a look back at the depletion of water and how we need to do things different. Because if you run out of water, if you run out of water, let's say this, if we run out of water, then we are shit out of luck. And I'm going to say it just like that, as frank as possible. because water fuels everything.
Everything.
You know, you can't even, like, realistically, if you look at like how certain technological systems in America and even other countries all across the world are powered by water, you have to have a source of water.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't,
you have nothing. You have death.
But it can also burn out certain systems.
Yes.
So those conductors have to have some type of liquefied source that's cooling them down, or that's transferring energy from one place to another. You have to have water in everything that you do. But if we use it at all,
right?
Because you want to wash your golden Dalmatian or your 102 Dalmatians or your big ass dog that you ain't had no business getting,
or watering the lawn that's just a lawn,
or the golf course,
or the golf course.
Let's talk real, because that's real,
course.
right?
Yeah. We in not some place that makes food, just the golf course.
Bro, we in a whole drought. Like even right now, as we speak, do this podcast, we in a whole drought. But I bet you up the street, that golf course is green. In Kanesville, that shit is green.
It's green.
Exactly. It's a problem. It's a problem.
That's true. It is a problem. You know, I'll even add to that it's amazing how when we think about it, all of nature knows how to get water.
Bro.
Birds don't have no problem with the water. Animals don't have no problem with the water. We are the only ones who don't know. Well, the modern culture. Although we want to look at indigenous culture and call them third world. This is why it's important for the I.R.I initiative to protect how they get their water, their sources of water, how they honor nature and get water, how they preserve nature and keep the water clean, because they're doing something that we no longer know how to do. They are doing something that empowers them and empowers the earth and protects the earth and preserves life, whereas we are so dependent on the destroyer of life for the very water that we need. And then the water that we're drinking, if anybody's smelled their tap water lately,
bro, it ain't it, like, to be honest. Like, and then another thing is, which is crazy, because if people will give you the argument, well, there's bacteria in the water, right? Let's say that, you know, it might be bacteria, it might be life in the water, for sure,
you know, shouldn't it be?
Anyway, but if you drink it, that's gonna make you sick.
That's gonna make you sick. And what I realized is being here.
Remember when we was at Patapsco?
I remember. We drank the water. We were just fine.
It was good.
It was delicious. But that's a whole nother conversation. It was delicious. But you know,
clean,
here's the thing. If you're here, born in the West, born in the U.S., and all you've drank is the dead, sterilized chemical tap water, then absolutely, if you go in nature and drink natural water, you're going to get sick because you've had no exposure to nature.
Because your stomach don't got no life in it.
And then furthermore, you're going to go think of any other country and their water, which if you go to other countries and you drink their water, you may get sick, but it's because you haven't been exposed to nature, not because the water is bad. Like I think I had some family members who said to me, like, when we went to Africa, Shemzheru, did you drink the water? And I was like, I absolutely did drink the water. And there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
So some of you may know the 42 laws of Ma'at, and some of you are maybe familiar with the 10 commandments, but all of these come from a much larger body of knowledge, the great book of divine ordinances, the code of human behavior. These laws were given to humanity from the world of the gods, so they are not created by humans or governments, and they have no political agenda. These are the rules that allow us to live harmoniously on this earth together in balance with nature while evolving towards the divine world. So there are 77 commandments. We're going to get into one of them today. Shemzheru, what is today's commandment of the week?
So today's commandment of the week is thou shalt not cloud drinking water, right? Right. and all right. I know what y'all probably thinking. Actually, I don't know what y'all thinking because I'm not really reading your minds right now. So some of the commandments that we use, they just relate to the overall message of this dope podcast, right?
True.
And it just happens. It's not on purpose though. Or is it? But this commandment is a very interesting one. If we look at the whole industry in the West of water cleaning, the concept of purifying spring water to make it suitable for consumption. Suitable for consumption, right? So clouding drinking water is what the system does. We were just talking about it a little bit in, you know, that the Chem Talk section.
Right.
But it's just what the system does. Whether it be the chemical additives that they put in for us to drink, or the dirtying of the rivers and the streams that were once drinkable.
Right.
Humanity is in a position that if we as a collective knew the foundation that the Neteru, the creators of this existence, already gave us, would we really be in the situation that we in now?
Right.
And that's just a question, you know. I'm not trying to ruffle no feathers, but at the same time I am. And it's important for that to be. So it really needs to be considered. Now we on this episode 5.
Right.
It's us really getting into the heat of thing. But the code of human behavior is a blueprint, right?
Right.
For us coming into a place where we are only visiting. We have to adjust to it.
Right.
The code of human behavior represents that structural system that was before, that existed before even us.
Right.
You know? Unless you get back to the 1950s, but that's a whole different story.
that's another podcast,
That's a whole
Joe.
different story. So the code of human behavior, just by the name itself, is something big. It's a code. It's an ethical code that we should follow.
Right.
You know, and we wouldn't be in this situation if we were following that.
Right.
If everything was, I mean, there's ebbs and flows to everything, but if everything was at that point where we were even following that code of human behavior, that commandment, how, like, because companies used to dump their chemical waste inside of the stream system.
Yes.
And they had legal authorization
Absolutely.
to the United States government.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say that again. Legal authorization to the United States government to dump their chemical compounds inside of the water stream.
That's right.
When I learned that in school, I was like, yo, these niggas is wildin'. Excuse my language. But yo, they was wildin'. Oh my jeez.
This podcast is getting ready. Because
it's making me.
We're passionate about this because, you know, as members of the Kebtah, as initiates of the Kebtah, as followers, friends of the Kebtah, you learn how important it is to be preservers of life. And to know that we're in a system that purposefully allows the destruction, and we're aligned with it. We're okay with it.
Yeah.
You kind of get lulled to sleep so that you don't even think about the importance, because the rules and laws of this government, of the structure, allows for destruction.
Yeah.
You know?
It promotes it.
It promotes
it from an early age. But here's the thing, you know, I was talking to one of our Hatinis, Hatinu Zuera, today, and essentially, I was saying that it starts from birth. It starts. Actually, let's not do that to the babies. But even though it does, it starts as soon as you enter into the modern school systems.
Right.
You know, as an insider, I was an insider at one point that went out. That's now in looking at the system. You know, from a different standpoint, from a different lens, right? By looking at it like that, these kids' mentalities is being warped straight up. You know, you're being forced to adopt a system of destruction.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's all it is. You
That's
know,
all it is.
And it's like there's many things now that are in place that are trying to get the kids to, look at the system that you find yourselves in. Look at the point of how colonization has shaped the mindset that you have, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, that's cool and all, but these kids don't care about that. They dealing with so many things. It's like, okay, you talking about dirty water, so then clean it.
So, you know, it's hard to think outside the box when you're inside the box.
Yeah, it's really hard because you're not even gonna recognize that you in a box, and that's the big thing about it. Like most of these kids, you know, like even for me, let's not talk about the kids. Even for me, I didn't recognize I was in the Matrix until I left it. You know, I seen the movie. It was a cool movie. You feel me? It was a cool movie. But then realizing like, wait a minute. That's me. It's something different. It's scary. It's scary.
It takes you, literally, you have to get outside.
You have to. There's no other way.
The colonization. It's not about going and visiting another colonized country or going and visiting another country that is so fervently trying to be like the West. You have to get a chance to go and be with indigenous traditional people who have maintained the culture, because that's the only way that you can see how, although we have these conveniences. That's the only time you get to see that these conveniences are destructive to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That the hard work they do is actually better for the body.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it preserves the earth.
Oh, you talking about better for the body? Oh man, I'm not trying to even get into this today.
We're not.
All right.
Don't do it.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I cannot wait until episode. Like episode 9 when y'all come back and pull up, because if I say next episode 6, then episode 9, pull up.
Right. Okay. There you go. We're going to end that part right there. That was the commandment of the week, y'all. Commandment 57, thou shalt not cloud drinking water. From the great book of divine ordinances, the code of human behavior. So with that, we're going to let our producer, Big Gab, give us a word from our sponsor.
Ujai, this is your producer Big Gab Najabu, here with a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is the M-Tom Schools of Kebtah, and the DMV School has a message. The doors of initiation have opened in the DMV area. Discover the power of ancient knowledge as solutions for our modern day lives. Whether you are seeking alignment through ancient movement techniques, exploring indigenous spirituality, or learning the art of natural healing, these classes offer a transformative experience for personal growth through applying time-tested wisdom. This is your opportunity to embrace indigenous practices that cultivate inner peace, balance, and healing. If you are ready to explore these sacred traditions and embark on a path of self-discovery and wellness, contact us today and become a part of a growing community committed to transformation, cultural preservation, and reconnection. Give us a call at 202-770-2448 or give us an email at dmvkebtah@theearthcenter.org. That's dmvkebtah, KEBTAH, @theearthcenter.org. And now we'll get back into today's episode. Dua.
Okay, and that was a word from our sponsor. Thank you, Big Gab Netadua. And so now we're moving on to our next segment, which is the Bayou Wali divination. So the science of reading the Earth's energies is over 70,000 years old, y'all. And it's originating in the Temple of Thebes, Memphis, and Abydos, and known by modern science, modern culture, as geomancy. Now, parts of the science can be found all over the world, but the original form of the reading is known as M-Tom, and it's still practiced today by the Guamornchi people of West Africa. So, to give a little bit more understanding, you have to know that the Earth is a concentration of energies on and in which the destinies of every component of life is traced. So the notion of energetic forces applies to every component of the universe. And it is the relationship among these diverse forces, or the dialogues of energies, that determines life and the principles of M-Tom, and is the system that studies the energetic currents that are emitted or received by the Earth and their influences on humans and nature. So, the most common system of predictions in the modern world is astrology. We all know about astrology. And the astrology operates on the principles that planets and stars influence our mood. And it influences our character, and it influences our destiny. So if astronomical objects over 350,000 kilometers from Earth are capable of influencing us as humans, what about the planet that the humans are actually living on? Gotta think about that. I mean, that's not rocket science. If something so very far away can influence us, what about the actual body, the planet that we're actually on? So Bayuwali, or earth energy readings, translate the energies of the earth and how they affect humans and their environment in space and time. So that's just to give you a little bit of background and get you thinking a little bit differently. So today we are going to give some information according to the sidereal calendar for those born between November 10th and December 9th, which is the month of I.R.I in the traditional Kemetic calendar. So those born in this month are born under the goddess, or Netet Serket, and have certain taboos and that they should follow. So we're going to give you some background on this goddess Serket. And this is, when you hear it, you're going to like recognize some things that you probably have seen in Greek astrology. So Serket rules over the month of I.R.I. Serket is the scorpion goddess who watches over a dangerous twist in the pathway of the underworld. Her powers and protection can be used to heal venomous bite. Serket often accompanied Aishat in her wandering. So sacred animals for those born in this month include snake, scorpion, cow, vulture, catfish, rabbit, and sacred bull. One is forbidden to consume or kill these animals. So shout out to my fellow brothers and sisters who were born under the month of I.R.I, who were born under Serket. I am a Serket.
Aren't you?
I am, brother.
Oh, look at you.
I
Segue.
am, nice one, segue. I am November 19th. Or I.R.I the 10th.
I.R.I the 10th.
Is my born day.
Oh, wow. You was born on a day of rest.
I was born on a day of rest.
Look at you. You trying to be like me so bad.
But wouldn't it be you like me since I'm the older one?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Jeez. Dang, can't have nothing.
So y'all, that's just a portion of the Bayuwali reading. If you want to learn more, if you want to really dig into this, we really recommend you checking out our website, which is the Rising Firefly magazine at www.risingfirefly.org. Or go ahead and get the sidereal calendar. The 424 sidereal calendar has so much great information. For each month, it gives you information on the Neter, or god or goddess that you were born under. It gives you the traditional holy days, the ancestral holy days, the divine holy days. It gives you the traditional holidays, quote unquote, which is actually holy days. That's where the word holidays came from. Holy days. It gives you the traditional holy days that our ancestors followed, and you'll learn more about where these newly created holidays have come from.
Yep.
And you can get the sidereal calendar at our website as well, which is www.kebtah, K-E-B like boy, T like Tom, AH.org, or at www.theearthcenter.org. So definitely check them out so that you can learn more about your birthday and the goddess that you were born under. And if you want to get a Bayuwali reading, we're going to shout out that later on too. Shemzheru.
Yes, ma'am.
Just doubling back to our topic.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that, as a child that stuck out to me, like I grew up in a rural, I guess I could consider more rural environment, and we swam in the creek, the river. Yeah, there's a difference between the creek and the crick. Y'all country folks know a difference between the creek and the crick.
Super country, man. I'm looking at it like, bro, I ain't never hear no difference.
Yeah, there's a creek.
She said a new word on me today.
And there's a crick.
All right, let me hear it.
And we caught the little crayfish, we caught the minnows, we caught the little frog. Yeah, that was a thing.
Creek, right?
It was in the creek.
Oh.
But you know what? I know when me and you were out not that long ago in Gwynn Falls Leakin Park, it said, do not go in the water because it could be polluted. Gwynn Falls Leakin Park off of Franklintown Road. Can't go in the water. There's a sign. And I don't know if it's because the water is too close to a major traffic thoroughfare or because of dumping, but you can't go in the water because the water is polluted. It's contaminated. It leads me also back to the fact that, a lot of us don't think if you're born anywhere here in the U.S., and most of our water is contaminated in some way. It's not just Flint, Michigan.
No, it's definitely not just Flint, Michigan.
If you let me back up. The government deems a certain level of contaminants to be acceptable in our water. But imagine if you're drinking that water for 30, 40 years.
Bro.
How is it affecting your health? Now when you have all these different health issues, the cleansing organs having problems, your liver, your kidney, even if you've done your best to, eat right, not drink alcohol in excess, and you still find yourself having these problems. And of course, because we don't put two and two together, we look at things as cause and effect. We don't look at things in a sequential way. So yeah, the baby who drinks the tap water in their formula, okay, new baby, may have some harm, but that's a small amount in a brand new baby, and definitely can be more harmful for that baby because it's a brand new baby. But imagine now it's happened every day because you're washing in it, you're cooking with it, you're drinking it, and now 30, 40 years later, you're having health problems, and no one considers the water we drink, the water we use.
Nah, you make it a little spooky. Where's the spooky music in the back? Yeah.
Let's think
because
about
it is a silent killer.
It's a silent killer.
It's a silent killer. Like, I remember this one time I did a poem, and I was talking about, the dichotomy of Flint and Baltimore, and how much lead paint is lead is in the water. Like, the toxicity amount of the water is actually higher in Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore City specifically, than in Flint, Michigan.
Wow.
And it just, and it's a sad thing because, every morning it's a good concept to drink some water, before doing anything. But now some places, some people, some localities here, they don't even have the ability to do those things. Like, their only dependency is upon the polluted water.
Right.
And it makes it scary, because if you need water for everything that you do, like even washing with it, the fact of you're rubbing the soap and water on your skin, but your pores are now open, especially because it's hot water, it's opening up your pores. So even if you say, okay, well, I don't drink no faucet water, because people be like that all the time. That's true. And I be looking at them like, but your skin be drinking it. So then what? But it's crazy to know that we live in a system, a box, the Matrix. Let's just call it what it is. You call a goat a goat. You call a dog, you call I was about to say something crazy on this mic. But if it's toxified water, you have to call it toxified water. It's just poisonous water.
It is. It's poisonous water, even though they're packaging up and selling it to you as if it's good. Yeah. Because anytime you have a whole bunch of chemicals in your water that you wouldn't consciously go and drink some chlorine.
Nah.
But I know there are times when I turn on my water, you can just smell the chlorine. You wouldn't drink chlorine. You wouldn't give chlorine to your babies. But now all of a sudden it's okay to drink it because it's in the tap.
Yep.
and no one thinks about, we don't consider what it's doing to us long term or short term. So yeah, y'all, just something to think about, and really understand that the reason why it's important for us to help those traditional cultures preserve their way of doing things is because they never stopped doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
They never stopped doing it in a way that was beneficial to nature itself and to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hear all the time, and you guys might have heard me say it before, some people will say, well, why aren't you helping, those who are here? Why aren't it starting here in the West? We're already messed up, y'all. For us, it's undoing and unlearning all the bad habits that we've learned. But those who are already doing things the way they do it in a way that will help the rest of the world, you gotta protect them.
Yeah.
You gotta protect them. You gotta preserve their way of life so that when we are humble enough to realize that maybe our way isn't the right way, then we can come and sit at their feet and learn.
Yeah.
Again, I say.
But I mean, to be honest, because we're so stubborn,
yeah,
it's gonna take something drastic.
I hope not. It's always they always say,
not.
listen.
But come on.
You're right. I mean,
come on.
It's always the last minute when everything's bad. Then you want to run to mama and say, "Can you help me?"
Let me give you an example.
Okay, go.
You meet a beautiful woman.
Okay.
Right. She pull up to your house.
Okay.
Beautiful woman. She pull up to your house. She come in. What's that smell? And then look around and see everything disgusting. She ain't gonna come back. She not gonna come back. You have an opportunity. You failed. Then you'll change. It's almost like it's in human nature in a way. Not everybody functions the same. I'm not saying all humans have a specific functionality, but a lot of us learn by failure. A lot of us do.
Yeah.
But the thing about the earth and the situation that we find ourselves in, the earth is going to keep telling. It's going to keep telling. It's going to keep telling. But if we don't know the signs, we don't know the language of nature, right?
Yes.
If you don't know the language of nature, you won't ever be able to read the signs that is right in front of your face. And if I continuously keep you distracted inside of the paradigm in which you find yourself in, this is why this gets beautiful. Let me just say it like this. If I keep you distracted inside of the paradigm that you find yourself in, you won't even know that there's a language of nature.
That's true.
You won't even know that there's a language of nature. Because look, here's another thing. A lot of people know the hieroglyph. They know the hieroglyph. But what they know of it is it's almost like the European is allowing you to get something in order for you to not ask for more.
What?
See, that's where that shit, because it's like some people will bite the hand that feeds them. Some people won't. And if you get enough people who won't question or bite the hand that's feeding you, you're not going to assume that whoever is feeding you is starving you.
Yeah.
That's what makes it dangerous. And it's an art. It's a tactic. And I'm saying this like this because if the FBI is circling my house and we're here, poo, come out, Shemzheru, put your hands up. I'll be like, listen, tell them babies that the truth is always in front of you. It just takes for you to realize the illusion from the truth. And it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing.
Understanding that it's okay to be uncomfortable.
But look, right? Right? The fact that me and you, and we're not the only ones that has escaped the matrix of this system. And
well, he's trying to escape.
But look, just listen, when we went to Merita. You ain't trying to escape in Merita.
No.
You're not trying to, in Africa, you're not trying to
no,
escape.
You
are out of it. Now, if you think your little diabolical ass is trying to escape, that's where you done messed up. That's where you done messed up. Because now you're just perpetuating the same destruction in a different place.
Yes.
And you can say, okay, well, I have changed. How?
You know what, Shemzheru, I remember when Nava had said to us, you know, you're still just functioning as Westerners. And we were trying so hard,
bro,
to not be. You don't even realize that you're doing it. And how could you?
How could you?
When this is all you know.
Because and this is why I keep saying that this is a beautiful thing. The destructive, you have to look at the beauty of the destruction. There is beauty inside of destruction, but get out of it.
Right.
The beautiful aspect of it is it's so ingrained inside of us, right? It's so, unless someone shows you your tail,
yeah,
you're gonna think, and it's like almost a trick of the mind.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
You're going to assume. You're going to think. How about this? Oh, let's say this like this. You're going to believe that it's not you.
That's not you.
That it's outside of you. And that's where the dangerous part becomes. Because if I can orchestrate that destruction in a global scale, then I won't have to do much.
No.
You know, if I can poison the waters here and then make them dependent upon what I'm giving them there. If I can poison the waters here and make them dependent upon what I'm giving them there, eventually I won't have to be the one that's poisoning the waters there.
No.
You'll do it.
Yep,
because you won't know how to train your kids in a way that teaches them how to detoxify their sources of water.
Because they can't even get to the water.
And then perpetuate that preservation.
Right.
Because you also have to utilize it in the way of perpetuation.
Yes.
Because how they did destruction, they perpetuated.
Right. And it became self-perpetuating.
It became self-perpetuated. Because now it's not the mind, it's not the body that makes the slave.
Right.
It's not the body anymore.
No.
Chattel slavery, we don't have chattel slavery anymore.
Don't need it.
Because you all, we have your mind.
You have your mind. There's a traditional saying that the one who gets the mind to lie to itself is the most dangerous.
Bro. Say that again. Let me snap in the back, crackle, puff. God dang.
The one who gets the mind to lie to itself is the most dangerous.
Yo, that's all it takes, Neferista. That's all it takes. You don't have to do a lot of work.
Not after that.
Once you break the first 3 generations.
Yeah. It's self-perpetuating.
Or the first 4 generations. Let's say the first 4. Let's say that the first 3 are strong enough to resist to a degree that breaking. But some generation gonna break. Some generation is going to be like, you know what? I ain't even trying to die. I already seen what they did to Martha, Matthew, Jacob, Jonathan, Ryan, Elijah. They already done took them out.
Listen, and for all those who sit back and say, because it wouldn't be me.
It wouldn't be me.
I'm going to fight.
Because I'm going to fight.
But what are you fighting for?
But will you?
But will you?
But look, because the thing is, you, like you said, you would have to ask yourself, well, what are you fighting for? For one. Because if you don't know what you're fighting for, you could be fighting yourself from progressing to the point in which you know that you could get to, but you don't know.
Right.
Because you think you believe.
Because most people here who say they're going to fight, they would fight to maintain what they're doing right now.
Because it's about the comfortability.
And there you go.
If I tell you that you have to take 2 buckets 3 miles down to the river and hope that you can sustain that walk back with all of that water for your family,
I ain't doing that.
You ain't doing that.
I ain't doing that.
Come on, bro. Let's be real.
I ain't doing that.
We work a 9 to 5, a 6 to 2, a 7 to 4,
I
whatever
can't get a car
work.
to take me
bro,
down
that's
there.
what I'm saying.
I can't.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't get some gas and some car.
And then check this, peep this. Let's say you can't afford a horse. You can't afford a donkey.
I ain't walking.
What they used to do, they ain't used to give the Negroes the horses all the time. They used to give the Negroes a donkey. Let's say your donkey done got tired out and broke down. Now your donkey can't move. Are you gonna take your ass down there and walk?
Most of them won't.
Yo, bro, that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, this system.
But the strength in being able to carry that water yourself.
That's and this is the joke. This is a long-standing joke on the internet, right? And I'm gonna say it like this. I'm gonna just say it as frank as possible. them Chinese kids, if they come over to America, they beating all of us. They beating all of us. Because what they do, like, let's say in the initiatic camps that they train them kids in Shaolin Kung Fu, let's just say Shaolin Kung Fu on a normal basis, or if you have a traditional Chinese parent, your kid is going to be strong. Your kid is going to be intelligent. Your kid is going to be a survivalist, right? It's only about the destruction when you come to this system, when you come to the system here, right? And you adopt the ways of the West.
Yeah. You're going to get what you get.
Them kids, we have a fighting chance if they think that America being the elusive society is beautiful enough to sustain them kids. We have a fighting chance then. But if they realize that, listen, them American kids don't got much. All I got to do is train my kid to jump down, pick a pail of water, jump down, pick a pail of water, and then walk in my back. That's all I got to do.
Yeah.
Then your kid will innately be stronger. Mentally, physically, emotionally. These kids right now, bro, and I'm not trying to bring too much out of this conversation, out of the sidetrack of this conversation, but they have this curriculum called emotional social learning. And that's where we're going to end it right now.
We're going to
end it right now.
All right, y'all. We're going to wrap up. We're a little out of order today. We're going to wrap up with a segment from our Griot's Corner. Our Griot's Corner is a segment which showcases the arts and talent of individuals within our community. And we bring that to you each and every episode. So we're going to go into the Griot's Corner.
Ujai, once again, this is your producer, Big Geb, here to interrupt this lovely podcast to bring you the Griot's Corner. This week on the Griot's Corner, we will feature yours truly, but wearing a different hat, so that means no cadence this time. Today I'll be wearing the hat of the Drum Shinobi to bring you the music production side of Big Geb. Here with a lovely lo-fi beat called Serene. Enjoy. Yes. That was the Drum Shinobi with his lo-fi beats, Serene. Of course, that's me. But you can check me out on Instagram at _Hidden Drum Village. That's _Hidden Drum Village. All right. Now we're going to get back into today's episode. Peace.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Shout out to our feature for the Griot's Corner today. And I think we're at the end of our podcast today, Shemzheru.
Yes, we are.
So thank you again, everyone, for joining us on our 5th episode of the Starlight podcast. We are so thankful that you guys are still hanging in here with us. Stay tuned. Come rock with us next time. Later, y'all.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Starlight Podcast. To learn more about Bayouali Earth Energy readings, go to www.risingfirefly.org. To book a spiritual reading or a health consultation, go to www.anhlife.org. And if you're interested in learning more about Kemetic culture, visit our website at www.theearthcenter.org. Don't forget to like, share, and follow us on all social media platforms at Kebtah and on Facebook, The Earth Center. May you shine as bright as the starlight in the night. I.R.I. Peace.
Peace.